Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unacademy, India's largest online learning portal for the preparation of competitive exams. My name is Neelam, and I'm going to be a facilitator for CAT. I hope all of you are ready to take on the challenge tomorrow, that is, to skin the cat. I'm sure you must have taken care of all the logistics and organized all the documents that you need to carry along with yourself to the exam center tomorrow. Your admit card, identity proof, and your photograph. I hope you have also taken care of the COVID guidelines. Certain things that you need to carry along with yourself, such as a water bottle which is transparent, gloves if you're comfortable typing, wearing gloves, and your mask. Along with that, you also need to carry a bottle of sanitizer. In today's session, I'm going to give you some useful tips about what you should do in the examination hall tomorrow. So the session name is Last Day Tips for CAT, but this session is going to focus more on the things that you should do in the examination hall while taking the exam. I hope the tips that I have compiled today will help you in maximizing your score, and I hope you follow them and get benefited out of these tips. I'm really excited to share these useful tips with you today. Let's get started with today's session. Before that, let me give you a very brief introduction of myself. My name is Neelam Malkani. I possess around 12 years of experience of test preparation industry, and I've trained students of CAT, GRE, GMAT, IIMs, and TOEFL. I have trained students for verbal ability and critical reasoning. I also had the opportunity to design and set assessment papers of English and reasoning for different exams. I did it for professional bodies as well as for governing bodies of different states. I also was an examiner of English for an international exam. Recently, I have authored a comprehensive book of English for the preparation of competitive exams. Now, this video is brought to you by Unacademy. Let me take you to its portal and tell you how you can be part of this. You have to go in the Play Store of your mobile phone and download Unacademy Learning app. After filling in all the details, you will be shown the offerings such as Plus, free courses, special classes. If you want to attend classes for CAT, you have to go in the Plus category and subscribe the course. If you don't want to go for that, you can attend classes for free courses, special classes which are available. You can see how classes are delivered by different educators there. If you are satisfied, then you can take a decision and go for Plus category. When you go in that category for the subscription, you will be shown all the features that you will be availing with single subscription. 30 hours of live sessions every day. So as per your availability, as per your convenience, you can choose the time of your sessions. You can choose the educator of your choice. These courses, which are delivered by 40 plus top educators of India who possess wealth of experience of mentoring and guiding students and who have expertise in their own domain. The courses which are delivered by these top educators are well structured, well designed, and every month you get to see a new course launched on Unacademy, which caters to the demands of a specific exam. So with single subscription, you will be in a position to avail all these benefits. When you go further and subscribe, you will be shown all the models of subscription which have been devised by Unacademy to suit your specific needs for the preparation of this exam. So if you are in the final year and want to go for 1 year subscription, 1 year course, which is CAT 2021, you should go for 1 year subscription. If you are in penultimate year of your engineering or your other courses, you can go for 2 year subscription. So as per your suitability, you will choose the model of subscription. If you want to avail for the 10% discount, you have to type the referral code Neelam. With that, you will be in a position to avail for the 10% discount. So after availing the 10% discount, your fee for 12 months will come down to 15,750. That is best in the industry, and that is best that you are able to get, right? So what are you waiting for? Go enroll yourself on Unacademy, see free classes, special classes. When you are satisfied, go for the subscription model and start preparation for your targeted exam. Now, as I said, last day as well as the tips for examination day, examination hall. So last day, since today is going you are half the way today. So what you have to do is relax. You have to calm your nerves. You may have this anxiety or you may have this apprehension about your performance. So what you have to do is relax yourself. Do everything to calm your nerves. Do everything which rejuvenates your mind or relaxes your body. Eat, drink and sleep well. Don't underestimate the importance of higher concentration level and mental agility and your mental alertness that you need badly in your examination hall tomorrow, right? They can be suffered if you do not sleep well, right? So that is what you have to focus on. Now all the preparation part is done. You cannot do anything today in terms of preparation. What you have to do is take care of your mind and take care of your body. Eat nutritious food which gives enough energy to your body. If you're taking exam in the first slot, take care of your breakfast tomorrow. Alright? So please do not overlook the importance of eating, drinking and sleeping well. Keep your body hydrated so that you don't feel dehydrated in the examination hall. Now, if you are one of those students or people who have this desire to prepare till the last minute of the examination, some of us would also carry our notebooks when we travel for the exam center. Now, if you are one of those, what you can do today is solve some questions of summary and odd sentence out, right? So pick up the questions from CAT 18, CAT 19, 10 questions of odd sentence, 10 questions of summary, because these are two questions which are easy to do, which are more doable than RC and paratemporal questions. And if you have a kind of quick understanding, last minute understanding of these questions, you will have more, you will feel more confident about solving these questions in examination hall as well. So if you really want to do anything, do any practice, solve these questions. If you have little more time or if you want to invest more time in verbal ability section today itself, then look at the mistakes you made in your mocks. So whichever exam you take, whichever mock you took, pick up any mock and see what kind of mistakes you made. Were there silly mistakes? Was the mistake related to misreading the instruction? Did you misconstrue the information? Or did you miss out reading certain things? So whatever that mistake was, try to see a pattern of your mistakes, right? And then train your brain to remember those mistakes so that you avoid those mistakes tomorrow, right? Take any two mocks. You might have, as I made another video for 10 days strategy for CAT. In that, I asked you to keep a track of your performance in mocks. So that means you have to make an Excel sheet of your mocks and your performance in the mocks. So how many questions you got correct, how many questions you got incorrect in RC, verbal ability, and what kind of mistakes you made. So just go to that Excel sheet if you have maintained that, or pick up any two mocks that you solved earlier and see what mistakes you made. So you have a kind of thing, a kind of a direction about your mistakes, and these things will be clear in your mind that they are to be avoided tomorrow, right? So if you really want to do anything today in terms of your preparation for tomorrow, do these two things for verbal ability. Now what in examination hall, what things you should take care of in the examination hall? The first thing and first and foremost thing that I would recommend everyone is read the instruction carefully. Do not ignore the instruction just because you have been taking mocks of your institution and you know what these instructions say, or you have taken the official mock given by IIMs and you have read all the instruction carefully there. There may be last minute change. There may be some alteration in the instructions. So read those instructions carefully. You will have inordinate time before you start for the exam. right? So invest your time in reading the instruction carefully and see if there is any change. If there is any change in the instruction, see how you change your strategy for the exam in accordance with the change which has been brought in the instruction, right? After you are done reading the instruction, when you start your paper, when you start taking the test, first section is going to be verbal ability, reading comprehension. Then there is a feature which is made available to you by the exam structure. That is, you can see entire paper. On the right side, you will see at the top, in the right side, you will see two options. Instruction, see question paper. Please take advantage of seeing the question paper. Invest at least 1 to 2 minutes seeing entire paper. When you click on that button, whole paper will be shown to you. Whole paper, including the marking scheme of each question. So you will be shown that RC question will carry 3 marks or whatever may be the marking, and those questions which do not have negative marking will also be shown, but they will not have negative marking. So the whole paper is clear to you. The whole skeleton of the paper that you are going to take up is clear to you. So take advantage of this tool. Invest 1 to 2 minutes in reading, in scanning the entire paper. Now what you have to see and what you have to look for when you see the question paper. How many questions are there in the paper? So that's one thing which we are completely unfamiliar about. So here, what you have to look for is how many questions are there in the question paper. Now, if you are taking the exam in the first slot, that becomes all the more imperative for you. If you are taking it in the second slot and the third slot, you may have some inkling about the number of questions because you must have read the analysis on some websites, or you may not have access to your mobile phone, so you know nothing about that. So in any situation, look at the number of questions. Along with number of questions, what are the things that you have to look for when you see the question paper in 1 and 2 minutes only? Number of passages, right? So if there are 3 passages or there are 2 passages. With that, you also have to see which passage is lengthiest and which paper or which passage is shortest passage. With that, you may have clarity about which passage you want to attend first. If you are a good reader and you can scan the paper very easily, and if you have been doing it in your mock, you will also be able to see the subject of the passage. When you are glancing over the paper, try to look at the first line of the passage. See if it is of a subject that comforts you or that interests you. So make up your mind that this is the passage that you want to attend, or this is the passage that you want to avoid doing. And number of non-MCQ questions. So in 1 and 2 minutes, when you choose this option of seeing entire question paper, you have to see how many questions are there in the paper, how many passages are there. With that, you also have to see the length of the passage and subject of the passage. Non-MCQ question. So if there are 3 passages, how many questions are there from non-MCQ questions? Now, since you have read or since you have understood the structure of your exam now, decide whether you want to start with RC or verbal ability. Now, whichever strategy you have decided to go with in your mocks, whichever strategy has worked for you earlier during your mocks, you should stick to that. You should not change that strategy just because you see there are less number of questions of RC. You should stick to that strategy, because if that strategy has worked for you, it should also work in the examination hall. So if your forte is RC, start with RC. If your forte is verbal ability, start with verbal ability. What other strategy, what other way I can suggest you is that you start with RC. If you need higher concentration level, if you need focus, you possibly will have more energy when you are beginning your test, right? So you start with RC and then you alter your strategy by doing 2 to 3 questions of verbal ability and then coming back to another RC. So that way you are altering your brain And you're not doing intensive reading consistently. Rather, you are doing passage, you're solving passage, 4 questions, 3 questions, and then you are doing one small question, paragraph summary, or sentence out, you're coming back again to analysis. So that is one strategy that you can also employ when you take the exam. Now focus on what you know rather than what you don't know. Now here, in the examination hall, it is very crucial for you to tell your brain that this exam is doable for you. You have to send these signals to your brain that it is attainable for you. You are not faltering, you are not fumbling, or you're not going to fail. So you have to focus on those things which are doable for you, what you know, rather than those things which you do not know. So if there is a passage on abstruse subject on philosophy, you don't have to focus that. There are certain things that you know very well, and the exam has those questions on those subjects. So focus on those things, right? So when you scan a paper, you see the total number of questions, you see how many passages, you see the length and the subject of the passage, and how many questions from non-MCQ section. All right. With that, you quickly decide whether you are starting with RC or verbal ability, or you are going to alter between these two parts. And with that, you also see what is doable for you, what you can do easily, instead of focusing on those things which are challenging or which are intimidating for you in the paper. Then you will definitely drain your energy, or focusing on those things will drain your energy, will lower your confidence level. So you better focus on those things which you can do easily. After you have chosen a passage, you have decided to start with a passage, and you have chosen a passage as per the length or as per the subject that suits you. What is it that you should do while solving a passage? Always look at the questions first. Don't just start off reading the passage without looking at the question. What is it that you are reading for? What is it that you are looking for? And what is it that you have to find out in the passage? When you have an idea about the question, you are doing a targeted reading. You are reading for an aim. It's not aimless reading, because not every part of the passage is going to be included in the question. So you're reading those parts which are not going to be helpful in answering the questions. So you better be dictated by the questions about which part is to be read carefully. Now, look out for the key phrases, keywords. If there is a factual passage, you may not need to read entire passage. You may look at the questions, then scan the passage, read that information carefully, that part carefully, and you possibly can answer the question easily. Target reading, as I said, it's not aimless reading, it is a reading that is dictated by the questions themselves. Now look at the question I picked up from CAT 19. The question said, which of the following can be responsible for emperor penguin losing body heat? It was a very factual question. So here, when you read this question and then you read the passage, you know whenever it comes to losing body heat, you will read that part very, very carefully. Right? Now, if you have an idea of 3 such questions, that means you're looking for specific information. You're not bombarding your brain with a lot of information, which is not going to be vital in answering the question. Your brain does not have to process all the information. All right. So please apply this strategy in the examination hall tomorrow. Look at the questions first. If there is a tone question, now in the back of your mind, you know that you're also looking for the tone. You are reading for understanding the tone. If there is a question about main idea, you already have an idea that I'm looking for the statement which is expressing author's main argument. So always look at the question. You can at least retain information of 3 questions, and with that, when you have fair understanding of the passage, you can answer the rest of the 2 questions as well. Right? So train your brain to remember at least 3 questions out of 4 or 5. And with that, we start reading the passage. Read directions or STEM questions very, very carefully. Don't ignore them. Now, it's going to be a criminal waste of time if you have read the passage, you have understood the passage very well, but just because you could not understand the STEM question well, you missed out accept, you missed out least agree, these words, and then you chose a wrong answer. Because of that, you marked an incorrect answer. It's a sheer waste of time and energy that you have already put into that reading the passage and understanding the passage. So don't let this happen to you. I have picked up some tricky questions which were designed, worded in a very convoluted way, just to trick you. If you find this kind of STEM question this year as well, so these appeared in CAT 19, CAT 18, so very likely they will also design their options and their STEM questions in a way which is going to confuse you or baffle you, right? Don't let it happen to you. I have picked up 4 baffling questions from 18 and 19. Be very clear what they actually mean. If you come across a new variety of this confusing STEM question, take a pause, understand what the question is asking you to do. When the question is clear to you, then finding answer is going to be a cakewalk. If you're not clear with the question itself, don't approach the options, right? So take a pause and paraphrase the option. Paraphrase the STEM question, that what is it that this question is asking me to do. Look at these STEM questions. All of the following, if true, would negate the finding of the study reported in the passage except. Now, if you missed this word, or if you could not understand the meaning, would negate the finding of the study reported in the passage except, you may end up choosing a wrong option, right? So tell yourself what I need to do when I have this STEM question. Do I have to find out a statement which is negating, or do I have to find out a statement which is not negating? One more. Which of the following statements, if true, could be seen as not contradicting the argument in the passage? Not contradicting does not mean supporting. Not contradicting means something which is not against the argument of the author. It may be supporting, it may not be supporting, but it is not contradicting, right? People who support decentralization, central government functions are least likely to cite which of the following reasons for their view. So they will not cite this reason for their favor or in their support. They will not cite. So least likely will not cite. So this is how you have to paraphrase. Last, which appeared in 2018 and 19 both. One of the following which would add the least depth to the author's argument. Least depth. Now, we have a STEM question like which would underestimate, which would undermine, which would cast doubt on author's argument. So now examiners have come up with a new way to put this whole idea, which would add the least depth to the author's argument, which would not add any value to the author's argument. That means which would not support author's argument, right? So differently worded, but the intent is same, that is which is not going to support author's argument. So examiners may come up with new and innovative and complicated ways to ask these different questions. You don't have to be bamboozled by them. Stay focused. Tell yourself that what is it that this question is asking me to do. With that, you will have more clarity about the question and then start approaching the question, right? If you are muddled, take another pause, right? And then rephrase it and then approach the answers, right? Now, what things you should avoid in the examination hall? So spending too much time on a question, that is a big no. It's time management exam. It's an exam of how well you exhibit your knowledge and your skills in a time-bound manner. Given you have 3 hours time for verbal ability, reading comprehension section, you will do all questions correctly. It is the time management exam. So, it is imperative for you to understand that spending too much time on a question is definitely going to be fatal for me. because ultimately I won't be able to attempt sufficient number of questions to clear the cutoff, sectional cutoff. That is going to kill a lot of time. And all questions carry equal marking. So a specific question which is taking 4 minutes of my time, crucial time, is definitely going to be a big no-no, and I would always prefer a question which can be done in less amount of time, right? So be very picky and choosy about the questions that you are going to attempt. You don't have to do those questions which are complicated, lengthy, or confusing. There are trick questions, and after taking so many mocks, after your preparation of so many months, you must be in a position to recognize those questions well. This question is going to put me in a tricky situation, or this question is going to be very, very long. That way you will easily avoid those questions. Ultimately, each question carries equal marking, equal weightage. So you should not have any fixation for solving any specific set of questions just because that question belongs to your strong area. Don't read hastily to increase your attempts. Now, what you should be doing in your examination hall is you feel that exam is doable for you. And since it's doable for you, you may feel that the cutoff is going to be higher, right? And the cutoff is going to be higher. For that, I will have to increase my number of questions. I will have to increase my attempts. Now, in order to do so, what you will end up doing is, because you may have this feeling that at any cost you have to increase your attempts. It will lead to faster reading, faster than your usual speed. Faster you read, poorer will be your comprehension, because you are not assimilating the information, you are not processing the information. And unless you process the information, you won't be able to answer the questions well, be it reading comprehension or verbal ability. So reading faster is only going to be counterproductive if you are not understanding, right? So you better save your time by avoiding those questions which are complicated and lengthy, instead of saving your time by reading hastily or reading cursively. That is only going to be counterproductive, right? So don't do that. And with that, you're very likely to make mistakes. You're very likely to attempt wrong answers. So you better avoid that. Read at the speed that you usually read stuff or reading comprehension, and with that, try to slow down your pace. Try to have the pace that you usually have when you solve your mocks. Don't try to speed up just because you are in the examination hall and you have just had this awakening that the paper is quite doable and I have to increase the number of attempts. You will compromise your accuracy and ultimately you will lose your marks and will not be able to clear the cutoff. Alright? Now, leaving a question after too many attempts, that's also something that you should avoid. Leave the question instantly. After so many mocks and the preparation, you must have realized that this question is beyond me, this question is doable for me. This question is going to take a lot of time, this question will be done in a quickie. So that way, you should instantly leave the question. After 30 seconds, if that question looks beyond you, after investing 30 seconds, you should leave that question then and there. Not after trying 2-3 times. In each section, you should try implementing the strategy. Leave the question instantly. There are other questions which suit your knowledge base, which suit your skill, and you will be in a position to solve those questions easily, right? So don't challenge yourself unnecessarily just because a question you think is from the concept that you know very well. The concept you know very well, but the question is very hard and tricky. Alright? So you should avoid spending too much time on a question. Reading hastily or cursorily, reading comprehension would require you to read carefully. Leaving a question after too many attempts, read instantly. Now, mind management. Now, certain situations which eventually may happen tomorrow, for them you will have to manage your mind, you will have to train your mind, you will have to do certain mind training to keep your calm and composed attitude in the examination hall. Now, one thing which could happen in the examination hall is that the one section that you recognized or discovered as your strength section or strongest section, you did not do very well in that section. So let's assume LRDI is your strength and you have been consistently performing extremely well in that section in your model. Suddenly you feel that you did not perform up to your potential in the examination hall. It might happen. But if the section is challenging, for all the takers who are taking the exam in your slot. These questions which are given to you, the item questions which are given to you, are properly tested and designed in accordance with the difficulty level which is determined by experts. So if it is given as the tough, it is tough for everyone. After testing a lot of students, a lot of sample students, a question is decided as tough, a question is decided as mediocre level difficulty, and question is decided as lower level difficulty. So this is how they have these different pools of questions. So if a question is difficult for you, it's going to be difficult for all the students who are taking exam in that slot. If the section is tough for you, it's going to be tough for almost everyone. Now, if you faltered in that section despite having forte or despite having authority on that in that section, that means those students who did not have the strength in that section would have done bad or worse than you. That means you're going to be in an advantageous position. All right. So don't start feeling nervous just because you faltered very bad in your strength area, and don't let this poor performance in a specific section affect your performance in other sections, right? Because you may start feeling like, I did very bad in this section, ultimately I'm not going to clear the section cutoff. What is the whole point of wasting energy in those sections? And that's going to bring your morale, and that's going to screw up entire thing. Don't let this happen. If it is tough, the cutoff is going to be lower for everyone, and you still stand a chance of clearing the cutoff. All right. So that is one thing. You have to train your mind for not believing that one section, if you faltered in one section or if you did not do well in one section, don't let this affect entire paper. Do as well as you could in rest two sections. You don't know your result yet, right? So don't declare your result in the examination hall. Yeah. Second, not able to answer questions from the area of comfort. So RC has been your forte, and you have been extremely well in RC and reading comprehension, and suddenly you feel that RC is beyond you, reading comprehension is beyond you. Out of 3 passages, only 1 passage is fairly doable. Rest of the 2 passages are very, very complicated and dense. So if they are dense for everyone. So focus your energy, focus your shift on those things which are doable for you. As I said, focus on those things that you know instead of those things that you do not know. So if you are good at reading comprehension, invariably those skills will be very useful in solving verbal ability question. If you are very good at reading, para summary, para jumble or sentence out should be doable for you. Alright? So if the challenge is here, try to compensate by doing well in verbal ability. Don't get intimidated just because the paper did not come as per your expectation, or you could not perform as you anticipated. Both ways, you have to be balanced in the examination hall. Don't let it affect the performance in other section or questions. Alright, so you have to be calm and composed in the examination hall. So that is another challenge that you have to take on confidently, that you have to train your brain to be calm and composed. Now time, very quickly, let's talk about time. So time for verbal ability is 40 minutes, that's for each section. So verbal ability, 40 minutes, you have to attempt 17 to 20 questions. So if I talk about the difficulty level of CAT PT, which is fairly doable, the attempt would, the number of questions would, if it is 25 questions paper, then you would require at least 20 questions there, right? If it is CAT 19 level paper, I hope you have clear idea about those papers. I have discussed the passages extensively in this series of sessions only. Now you have clear idea about CAT 18 and CAT 19 passages. So CAT 19, the cutoff will go down because the passages were tough and the overall difficulty level was higher. So 16 to 17 should be your ideal attempt in a paper of 25 questions. You can always, anticipate how many questions you may have to attempt if the number of questions goes lower, if it is lower than 25 questions. If it is 25 questions, you have to attempt 20 questions, 2 minutes each question, 40 minutes for 20 questions. So fairly you have 2 minutes for each question. Now how you should allocate your time if you want to play with your strength part. The first 10 minutes, what you can do is attempt 5 questions from verbal ability. Because if you are going with verbal ability, which is going to be less time consuming, which is going to be fairly easy, and which is not going to be very, very intensive as reading comprehension is. So if you are beginning with that, try to attempt 5 questions for verbal ability. So 10 minutes, 5 questions, quite doable. Even you can go for 6 questions as well from verbal ability. Then next round, you are done with 5 to 6 questions. Next round, 20 minutes you devote to solving RC. 20 minutes for solving 10 to 12 questions depending on your proficiency in reading comprehension. If your proficiency is higher, you can go up to 15 questions of RC as well. Alright? Now last 10 minutes. You should target at maximizing your attempt, maximizing your score. See if you have marked any questions for review. See if you have marked any question after eliminating 2 options, you were confused between 2 options, so you marked that answer. You marked that question. See what you can do with those questions and reach to the 5 questions at least. And with that, you can come up to 20 questions, 17 to 20 questions easily, depending on the difficulty level of the paper and depending on how well you do how well you do in the examination hall in verbal ability section, right? So 17 to 20 will put you in a fairly confident position to clear the cutoff as well as to maximize your score. All right. If in case it's beyond you, reading an entire section is beyond you, then you have to target at least 15 questions in any case. 40 minutes, 15 questions. You have more than 2 minutes. Focus on the area that you know well, verbal ability, right? So verbal ability, possibly 10 questions. So focus on those 10 questions and with that, at least target 5 to 6 questions from reading comprehension. If the paper is very difficult and the passages are not your strength. So this is the strategy you should employ. So both ways, 15 questions minimum if verbal ability is not your strength and you are targeting those colleges which are not going to see the section cutoff, at least 15 questions you have to attempt with 90% accuracy. Alright, so if you allocate time this way, you will have sufficient time to look at all the questions, entire paper, and to maximize your score to clear your cutoff. Right? Non-preparation part, so that is take care of your logistics, as I said at the beginning of the session. So where the center is, how you are going to travel to the center, and how far you have to travel tomorrow, and same time. In the COVID times, you may not have all the transportation facilities available to you. So please get those things arranged today itself to take care of all the logistics and who is going to accompany you, if any person is going to accompany you, who is going to take care of your belongings and all these things. Same time, you are allowed to take 2 pens with you. So I would recommend that you take pens of different colors so that you can organize your rough work. So the more organized your rough work is, the better will be your understanding of those things and better clarity you will have about your rough work. Because sometimes when you mark your answer for review, and you don't have to do that calculation again, you don't have to do that charting again. If you have marked the questions by in a chronological order, as you did that, and you have done your rough work properly, you will have clarity about why you eliminated that option and why you actually did not come up with the actual answer. So with that rough work in your head, you can then review the answer. Uh, Take two pens with you, so red or green, or blue or black, any combination. One for if you are reading a passage, and if you are just writing down the flow of the passage. That first paragraph says this, second paragraph says this. So you are using one pen, one color pen for that. Uh, for organizing your information. Second, for eliminating your option. So if your, let's say, parajumble question is there where you are writing the possible sequence of your answer. So you believe that A and B cannot be together. So you have crossed A and B. That cannot be in your answer. So do it with different pens so that the information is not mixed and you don't get muddled when you come back to that option, come back to that question for review, right? So to paper, to a writing pad will be given to you. You have to write your name as well as your roll number on that, and you will have to give it back to the invigilator at the end of the examination. So don't tear any page off that writing pad, and organize your writing work in the writing pad so that it does not, you don't have to do it again and again. And take two different color pens so that you can differentiate the information. Take all the documents. I hope all of you have already taken up. You all are mature individuals. You don't really need that kind of hand holding. But despite that, I would say this, that every year we see a lot of students messed up completely because they did not carry the required documents at the examination hall. TCS used to be very, very stringent about these requirements, and they would, send back candidates to get those documents. But now they have started accommodating such eventualities in their guidelines. Nonetheless, this is COVID time. This is unprecedented time. So don't give them any benefit of doubt. You better take care of all the documents and be prepared with everything that they have given in the guideline and in your application, in your admit card. All right. So that's all I have to say today. So documents, I hope all of you know what documents are needed. So additional photograph you have to take along with you for attendance sheet, personal hand sanitizer, and personal transparent water bottle. All right. So if you are comfortable with gloves, you can always carry a set of gloves. All right. With that, I come to the end of today's session, and please don't feel nervous. Don't have this anxiety, the pressure, the anxiety to perform well tomorrow. CAT is just an exam. It's just an aptitude test. It is going to measure some of your abilities, but you have much more than that. You possess much more capabilities than to be measured by a specific exam. Believe in that, because that's actually true. Same time, there are always more than one ways to skin a cat, right? So your target is doing MBA. So taking CAT is just one of the ways to achieve the goal. Your goal is to do MBA, right? So there are non-CAT exams. There are multiple other ways to do MBA. So that's one of the ways that you are going to try your luck with tomorrow. If it happens, nothing better than that. If it does not happen, your life does not come to a standstill, right? So with that positive note, I wish you all the luck. Best wishes are with you for your good performance in the exam tomorrow. And put your best foot forward and come out with flying colors. All right? All the best. All the very best. Thank you.